Good afternoon. This is Virginia for Preborn Justice and Secular Pro-Life presenting on how to take community action to fight Virginia's abortion amendment. So the first thing to consider is where can you take action? And we're going to walk you through a lot of these different spaces and places where you have influence and the ability to make action in your communities. So we're going to go through a lot of them, including college campuses, pregnant and parenting support, places of worship, community spaces and events, culture jamming, abortion facilities, political processes, and social media. So first up, college campuses.
All right, so college campuses. This is great. You can get a group of people, or even just at least two of you, find a public university and just go to the public square area. You can bring your signs. Sometimes we use victim imagery. Sometimes we just use things that give informational information about the amendment and literature. And people can pass out literature while others talk to the students. Everyone just challenging what they know about the amendment. Sometimes it goes into abortion apologetics. Just remember, keep calm, keep it professional. If you feel more comfortable letting the campus know that you'll be there so that they're aware that you'll be in that space talking with the students. But usually this is just a great way to engage, challenge the mindset, and provide the information to individuals so that they know what's happening in their state.
Yeah. I'll also add, if for a private university, you can still go there if you can get consent of a student group there to reserve a space for you. Public universities, though, like Dana said, you can just show up. You don't need anyone's permission. Public sidewalks are always fair game, and public universities, you're safe to go there. For public universities, though, too, if you have connections with a student group there, whether it's a pro-life group or some other group that might be sympathetic to our cause, they might be able to reserve a space for you, and that might be a more convenient way to get on.
Yeah, and I just add too, this doesn't have to be intimidating. This doesn't have to be scary. We've had experience going to some very pro-abortion campuses like VCU, and students are actually very receptive. I've had, hours-long conversations with individual students who they're just there genuinely want to learn. And so if you're there with a calm presence and you just kind of want to spark dialogue, the students will typically respond in kind. If you're not, trying to aggravate them, then they're not going to aggravate back to you. There's a lot of openness to discussion. And so this is a great way kind of to like get a small group of people together, just you and a friend, and go out to these college campuses and just start to spark these conversations. And remember, the goal is really just to give people pause about this amendment, not necessarily to make them completely pro-life, but just make them say, hey, even if you're pro-choice, this is something that you should really consider.
And also, if you are interested in using our signs, you can find a way we can help you set up funding so that we can send to you our outreach signs that we have used on several campuses as well.
Yeah. Okay, so next we're going to talk about pregnant and parenting support. So there are several different ways that we recommend providing tangible support in your community. This is a great way to show that we are leading with compassion, that, this isn't just about, restricting abortion or banning abortion. We really do want to have a holistic view of the abortion issue and say we need to come alongside pregnant and parenting families. And so one of the ways that we do that is, of course, recommending that you know and are involved with your local pregnancy resource center and other community outreach spaces that can provide this type of support. But in order to create conversations in these spaces, we recommend doing something that we call repro share fairs. And you can see we've done several of these. We've done them in metropolitan areas like Northern Virginia and DC, but we've also done them in, smaller cities and towns like Lynchburg. And so the way to do these is get a group of friends, get a folding table, and get different hygiene products, hats and gloves, pregnancy and parenting supplies, basic snacks and food items. And you set up a table and you just have a sign that says free aid, and you go and you distribute it to the community. And then the other important thing is bring literature with you about the amendment, about local pregnancy resources. And as people are coming in to give support, use that as a launching point to say, hey, by the way, this is coming. This is also harmful to our community. We're here trying to help and encourage, people to have these other options and to provide support. But you need to know that this act of harm, this amendment, is going to harm your community.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, and so this is something that you can do for the amendment upcoming immediately, but this is also something that you can do throughout the year after the amendment at any time. And one thing to always have with you is resources about your actual local pregnancy resource center. If you can hand out baby clothes, you can hand out pregnancy tests, prenatal vitamins, but always make sure that they know that if they want more things like this is who you can connect with in your community, and have their actual flyers or information with how to connect with them, as well as option line generally. And you don't, unlike if you're at an abortion clinic, you don't need to be trying to talk them out of an abortion. You just want them to know, hey, if you're ever in this situation, or especially if you ever know anyone who's pregnant, just so you know, there's resources here and you can get stuff like this and more resources at those. And you want to help build the brand of your local pregnancy resource center.
And the great thing too is that with these opportunities, you may not be directly facing abortion-minded individuals, but you will be facing individuals that will talk to them. So several of our share fairs, we've had talked to people where they said, hey, I'm getting this extra supplies for my neighbor, for the one that just gave birth, or I know people that are pregnant. So it's just as a way to spread out that information, even to people that you would never run into normally when you're sharing these resources.
And this is a great way too to actually go into your communities to do something tangible rather than just directing people to a website or a pregnancy center. This is a way to be actually, to be actively caring for your neighbor, going out and being a presence in your community. And that's important, that as pro-life people, we genuinely do go out and care for people in our community beyond just saying, oh, here's the pregnancy center you can go to. Actually go and take some of those pregnancy resources to them. And then I always direct them to the pregnancy center for more, but sometimes that's a barrier for people to be able to get there, to be able to reach transport. So the more that we can go into communities and spaces where people are and meet them where they're at, the better it is.
All right, so places of worship. We've had a lot of experience with this, whether we're inside the church or outside the church. So first off, we always say that we want to tell people, hey, try to set up a meeting with your pastor or your priest. Let them know about the amendment. Can they put something in their church bulletin? Can they put literature at the back of their church so when people leave, they get to see that and take that from their after services? Sometimes you might have different groups in your church that might be willing to pass out information on their group text, whether it's a young adult group, whether it's Catholic Daughters, whether it's, the pro-life ministry inside your church already. They may be willing to disseminate that information or let you host a training as well. In case you have a church or a place of worship that does not want to spread that information inside the church, feel free to drop literature by the cars after each of their services. I have also personally just stood outside of church services on the sidewalk. So when people are driving in or out, they see our signs, they actually will take information. You would be surprised. A lot of the people, even if they're the minister, the pastor, the priest doesn't want to talk about that, you don't know, but the congregants might be still willing to support you and they might agree with you. So you're still able to access and reach those people.
Yeah. And I would add too, even if, it's not accessible for your whole church to host something or for something to be put on by the church as a whole, a lot of the small groups or Bible studies or, ministries within those churches and places of worship, they may be open to having you come and talk about this or sharing for 2 to 3 minutes at the end of whatever that is. So also think about accessing those places. Those are great spaces and places that you might already be in. You might already be in a small group or a Bible study or something like that. Access those things, a mom's group. Just ask, can I take 2 to 3 minutes to talk about this amendment that's coming up? I have some flyers I'd love to distribute, and just talk about this at the end of that. Because that's a great way when maybe you can't access the whole church, but you can access some of those people inside the church and they can tell even more people. And again, it's just about reaching as many people as we can to spread the message.
Yeah. I'll also add that sometimes you might belong to a church that is very pro-life, and you would think that they would align on this and want to educate the entire congregation. But there's a lot of pastors who are very hesitant to get involved in politics, either for reasons that aren't so great, or a lot of times it's just there's legal reasons why churches can't interact with politics in certain ways. And a lot of people don't understand our rights. And so a church cannot endorse a particular candidate, and they are limited in the types of lobbying that they can do. But what this is a ballot initiative, which they do have the freedom to take a stand on and to educate about. And so if they aren't aware of that, you can educate them about that, and you can come to us if they want resources. They're also out there how churches can interact with ballot initiatives. If you're getting pushback, it might not be because your pastor is secretly pro-abortion and doesn't care about this. It might just be that they don't fully understand the laws related to this, and you can help them understand that to bring them in further. And you don't only have to focus on churches. if it's best if you're going to your faith community, but there's nothing wrong with calling around to other churches that you don't belong to, finding imams who might be sympathetic, or synagogues that might be sympathetic, and just saying, hey, I want to make sure you guys know about this. I would love to either have a meeting with you, or I can just leave you with some literature. If you have a table at the back, if you're okay with us leaving this here, be creative and feel free to reach out to other institutions that aren't just your church, but definitely reach out in your church.
Okay, so next let's talk about community spaces and events. So the idea here is there are already events happening in your community where people are going to be talking about whether it's political issues or other things. We know for sure the pro-abortion side in this ballot initiative, they are going to be at all the farmers markets. They're going to be at all the state and county fairs. They're going to be at any public event. You're probably going to see someone from the pro-abortion group there. So if they're going to be there, we need to be there. And so a great thing to do is if there's a community event going on, feel free to take literature with you. If you can, get a table there. If you already have a table for some other group, take some flyers. If you don't have a table, show up and just drop some flyers and have those conversations with people, or stand outside the event with a sign and some flyers and talk to people. But if there's a community space or a community event where things are happening, you should be there. You should be there to interact with people and talk about, hey, this is something that's coming, it's going on, and this is going to directly impact our community. And so you can see if there's a rally going on for a political event, whatever candidate, whatever side they're on, go to that, educate people there. There's all these events going on. And speaking of community spaces, that's not just about these events that are happening, but also things like your public library's bulletin board, where people are able to post advertisements and things, or your local coffee shop might have a bulletin board, or a thrift store where they just let people post things or leave flyers. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of little free boxes that are around, leave flyers in there. And so there's lots of places that already exist that you can go and you can put things in. You don't have to create your own event. You can just take advantage of things that are already there. And of course, if there are pro-life community events, go to those, promote those, and educate people there. Because the sad thing is, even a lot of pro-life people don't know this amendment is coming, or they don't understand what it's really about. And so even at these pro-life communities and spaces and events, it's very important to go there and to make sure people there know what this amendment is about and know how to dialogue about it themselves.
And you might be surprised as well if you go, especially to the March for Lives that are coming up, in Virginia, there's one in April. You might find people in your community that you didn't know existed. And then that's a way for you to network. That's a way for you to connect with them so that when you come back from that event, you can actually do these other types of activities with them in your hometown.
All right, culture jamming. So this is just about getting the information out there. This is great for if you don't want to talk to people. We encourage you to learn how to talk about abortion and this amendment with people in your community. But if you don't feel ready for that, this is an easy foot in the door to at least getting this information out there. So there's a whole lot of different ways that you can do it. Thomas already mentioned dropping flyers. That's really easy no matter where you go. If there's anywhere that there's already flyers, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, you can leave them around stores. Just getting the information out into the world is helpful. You can also do things like sidewalk chalking. That's something that is totally legal. You are allowed to do that on public sidewalks. There's other things like stickering that is getting a little more in the territory of it might be vandalism. So look up your local laws and decide what your comfort level is for things like that. But if there's something like a sticker wall somewhere where you see a whole lot of people putting different stickers on, you'll probably be all right adding a sticker to it. But use your best judgment. Understand that some of these things could come with some risk. There's a picture there of wheat pasting. There is some places where that's totally allowed, but it's sort of case by case. You have to look into where you can do that. But the idea is we can get this information out, both just general pro-life information about the value of unborn life, or about this amendment, or about support that's in the area. There's stickers for pregnancy resource centers, or Option Line has stickers, or you can make your own stickers for Option Line. And we just want to flood the community, because I know where I live, I see abortion pill stickers, advertisements everywhere with a QR code. And I carry stickers around with me to cover them up. And that's one way that we can just make a dent in a culture where you look everywhere and there's this pro-abortion messaging that is really extreme and nothing to counter it. Culture jamming is how we counter that. We put our messaging out there at least as much, if not more, than they do.
Yeah, and I would add like culture jamming too is something really accessible. If you, again, if you don't want to talk to people or if you just don't have time, it's something you can do when you're out and about, just doing your normal life. It's really easy just to always have a few stickers or flyers with you. And if you have a chance to drop them or sticker them somewhere, just go ahead and do that while you're walking down the street into the grocery store. Well, whatever you're doing, this is a great thing for you to just be like consistently always having them on you and always ready to just do this when necessary. And the idea of culture jamming is, are you necessarily going to change someone's mind by seeing that? Maybe. It's probably not likely, but it's creating this idea that it's normal and okay to be pro-life, and it's normal and okay to oppose this amendment. It helps remove the taboo when people see like the little pro-life things everywhere. It says, oh, this is a normal accepted view. And the truth is, being pro-life is normal. 50% of the country identifies as pro-life. The majority of Virginians are opposed to things like late-term abortion. And so it is normal, and so we want our culture and our society to reflect that, and culture jamming is a great way to accomplish that.
And I'll also add as well, kind of based on what the others have said, we want to imagine or make other people think that there are more of us out there, and culture jamming is a way to do that. So it gives off this vibe that there are people that think like us. And it's also a way for people that have kids to get involved. So whether they want to create the stickers or come up or design them themselves, or someone that's really computer savvy, they can use their skills in this area. Even if they don't do it, they're still at least able to create the content for others that are willing to do this as well.
Yeah. Okay, so social media is a huge impact. We know that I think it's about 20 in other states that have run ballot amendments. It's almost 25% of people said that their vote was determined by things they saw on social media. So what we encourage people to do is, first of all, follow us on social media. You can see our links here to our Substack, which is like a blog/newsletter, to our Instagram and to our TikTok, where we're putting out content that we want people to share. But we also want to invite you to use your personal social media as a platform to talk about this issue, whether that's sharing content from other people, from us or other pro-life organizations in Virginia, or making your own content. And we also want to invite you, help us make content. We're always looking for anyone who wants to volunteer and help make graphics about something you're passionate about. If you're a writer, to write a Substack, a blog post about something that you are passionate or interested about, or a personal story or testimony you have, or to make a video, to make a short video saying like, hey, this is why I'm against this amendment, and this is why this is a normal thing to be. And so we want to really invite you to use social media. I know, sometimes it can be uncomfortable to be on social media. It feels public, it feels whatever, but this is really impacting almost a quarter of the population's vote. This is determining it. And when it comes from the social media of someone they know, that makes them really likely to consider that heavily, almost as much as having that personal conversation. It's almost weighted the same in terms of what determines people's votes. It's only slightly more advantage that a personal conversation has than what they're seeing on social media. So it's so important to take advantage of this tool that we have.
All right, and abortion facilities. A lot of us know about sidewalk counseling, but this is a great opportunity not only to talk to women going into the facilities, but people walking by in the street. So, we have sidewalk counselors, people that are comfortable passing out literature, people that want to engage with the clinic escorts. And then you also have people that can just show up and hold a sign. They don't have to talk to anyone, but their sign can share information and resources, and also any information about the abortion amendment. We also have some people, sometimes they go on the other side of the street and then they just engage with everyone walking by. That's another great opportunity to have conversations, to talk about the amendment, especially if you're based in Virginia. And then also to actually say, just put into their minds, just to challenge the mindset about abortion just being the default and abortion being this mainstream thought that it's totally okay for it to be happening. So this is also another place where people can do culture jamming. They can sticker around the facility, and then they can also do sidewalk chalk as well.
Yeah, and I would say too, the primary goal of being outside an abortion facility is not to share information about the amendment. We want you to do that with other pro-lifers, with passerby while you're there. But the reason we go to the abortion facilities is because it's where preborn children are being killed. It's where women are being exploited. And so we want to be a direct line of defense for them. When we're on the sidewalk, that's our best opportunity to stand there and advocate for the life of the preborn child, to advocate for the health and safety of that woman, and to say there are other options that you may not know about, and there's a lot of free help available. So we want you to take resources from your local pregnancy center, from wherever. Virginia has a very large number of abortion facilities. It's very accessible to get abortions at facilities. So you're probably, in the majority of Virginia, you're within an hour and a half drive of an abortion facility. And so taking the time once a month or even like once a quarter to go and to be outside this facility is really important to do as someone who is pro-life.
And also, if you're not sure where to start, where to go, if you go to optionline.org, there's all of the pregnancy resource centers in your area, your zip code, so you can connect with them. And then if you're not sure which clinic to go to, if you go to abortiondocs.org and you enter in your state, they also list all of the abortion clinics that are in your area as well. And this is a great opportunity if you want to connect with your church or other community groups. They might know where they go, and they might have certain days and times so that you don't have to go out there alone.
All right. The last thing we want to talk about is political processes. Now, for the amendment specifically, this is already through the part of the political process where legislators get to vote and have an impact on it. Unfortunately, it is going to be on the ballot in November, and that part is kind of done, but you should still stay engaged in your political process. And the reason is that there are always other bills going through the legislature that do impact pro-life policy. So right now we're seeing a lot of really good maternal health bills and maternal support bills that are being passed that we want pro-lifers to support. We also see things like buffer zones and shield laws that are really negative and are pro-abortion that we want to oppose. So we want to stay engaged, and we also want to stay engaged at the community level. There are right now cities and counties across the state of Virginia that are passing zoning ordinances and other types of local ordinances to make it more difficult for abortion facilities to open up in their communities and to ship abortion pills within their communities. And so we want to be engaged at the local level too, encouraging our local legislators to support those types of measures. And, it's a great way to have an impact. You can go testify in front of it. It's really easy to get a meeting with a city council member. It's really easy to get a meeting with your local legislators. And even with your state legislators, it's pretty easy to get a meeting with them and to impact their political process. So you don't have to go to Richmond to the state capitol, and you don't have to go to Washington, D.C. to the national capitol to have an impact on political processes. It can be as easy as writing an email, making a phone call, or even just meeting with someone locally.
All right, the takeaways. So we have a whole variety of options for you to get involved, whether it's people facing or behind the scenes. We just want you to find your niche, whether it's working social media, whether it's networking, hosting a training for us, public speaking at campuses, writing a Substack for us, researching to give information or keeping us updated with the Virginia legislation that's coming down the pipe. We could use all of your talents. Everyone has a role. There's nothing too small, and everything is just so helpful for us, and it's helpful for the preborn.
Yeah. I'll also say, if you're interested in writing or making content, doesn't just have to be for us. We'd love it. But you let yourself be an influencer. You do, even if you don't want to think of yourself as an influencer, you have influence in your circles. And so that's why we want to be speaking up about this wherever we are. If you want to write articles, you can submit them to our Substack, but you can also just write them as op-eds to especially your local papers. It's harder to get published in something like the New York Times, but your local papers might be more likely to publish, and you might have more reach in your actual community. Same with letters to the editor. Keep track. If you see a pro-abortion editorial or op-ed in a local paper, write a letter to the editor. Those are usually 200 words or less, just saying, hey, just so you know, either you're wrong about a claim you made, which is likely about these amendments, or just, hey, I disagree with that. I am opposed to this editorial. It's worth doing. But that's just another example. There's a lot more that we haven't thought of that are not listed in here. And we invite you to think about them and be creative and go out and do it. You don't need permission from anyone. Go out and do it. And then tell us that you did it, and then we'll add it to our presentation, because that's a good idea.
Yeah, and I would add too, right, again, we would love for you to do this as part of our coalition, but it doesn't have to be with us. There are so many other pro-life organizations in Virginia who are doing these things. There are local groups, local churches, local communities that are doing this already that you can plug into. You just have to find your niche, find what you're good at, and there is a place for you to make an impact, because you do have influence. And that's what we want to encourage you to do. In your local community, there are already things you can be doing. Just think about it. And our goal is, what's one thing a month you can do leading up to this amendment? What's one thing a month, whether that's having a conversation, sharing a social media post, doing something bigger like going to an abortion facility. Pick one thing a month that you can be intentional about in doing. And that is our message for how you can get involved and take community action.